like, where's Kurt at?
All right, well, let's get it going, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a new NSL live talk, and this will be a good one. This is a special one because I'll be out of the picture quickly, and we have 4 world champions here who have a very special topic to discuss with each other. They don't need me for that actually, and it is Michelle Karamon on the right, 8-way world champion, Jeana Billings next to 8-way world champion Kirk Verner, 4-way and 8-way world champion, and Girard, same deal. So
Mostly on the same team too.
they have a lot of experiences and things to talk about, and I'm gonna disappear now and they will discuss the very special task coming up for Jeana and Michelle, which is double duties at a world championship. So let's start quickly with a summary of today. We were supposed to train today, so that's a disaster, right? The whole training day is kind of gone. You can't jump. Jesus Christ. I mean, in the preparations for the world meet in 8-way, terrible news, right?
Yes. Yeah, we had a good week last week, and we had good jumping weather, and we made hitting our marks every day, and we had a fantastic week as far as performance-wise. We were absolutely on fire and setting high averages on every day. We were doing pushing sometimes a little over a 24 average and right at a 24 average on everything, and we were really pushing well. And we had the weekend off, and then we came in this morning 2 jumps, and then weather rolled in. So.
Well, if you're already, I guess it's a good thing for the rest of the world. If you're pushing 24 plus, I think you shouldn't be training any longer from here on to the world meet.
We want to stay on that accelerator, man.
What team are you working for now?
I'm working for the news. I want competition. Well, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So,
It's been amazing.
and today you did 2 actually in the morning, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The 2 good jumps.
So let's talk. I've brought up this double duty thing several times already. It's coming up. It's a fact, for Michelle and Jeana, not for Kirk and Craig any longer. But you have seen it all.
Yes.
So let's go. Let's begin with this quickly, Craig. When you have done 4-way, 8-way at World Championships, you never won 2 gold medals. All right.
Close. Very close.
Very
Very
close.
close.
Only one person's done it.
So give us the history of that. When was it for you, and how many times, and when, and all that?
Well, we in 1989 we won the 4-way at the Nationals and the 8-way when I was on the Golden Knights, but we decided it's best just to focus on 8-way because at that time Tag Heuer was like 2 points ahead of everybody else, and so just didn't make a lot of sense. And sometimes if you have the same team, and the biggest drawback is the amount of training, because like for you to focus on 8-way and to focus on 4-way, a lot of times they're split. But man, these guys have been doing an amazing job. But this year it's a special time for me. I'll state it publicly, the best team I've ever been on, the best jumps, best teammates. It's such a wonderful time. But these guys are all hard workers. Like they work. I'm blown away, and I said that to you guys the other day, how I'm inspired by how hard they work and still show up with like ready to rock. And so I don't think it's new for them. They're doing 4-way, 8-way, and coaching, and so I think that they're really prepared for it. And like when we did it, like my favorite time is when we did half a day 4-way, half a day in 8-way, and then we won the World Cup. We had we took first in both and had a couple of World Cups, and so I really liked it. But there was we had past team members on airspeed that didn't care for it, and I think a lot of it is everybody on the team has to understand what's at stake, and so I know that those guys are not gonna give less effort on the 8-way, or the 4-way. It's like.
So that was the first time with the Golden Knights actually, you say in
It was 1989, but we didn't accept the.
Right, but at the World Meet you followed up later on where you did 4-way and 8-way at World Meets.
Yes.
So that was in 1999, I believe.
99 was the first and only time for me, and then 2001 was at least that time I know.
The
And
vertical lineup.
Yeah, the vertical lineup, and it was close. We actually
Yeah.
were in a
It was a
had a
dog, yeah.
3-point lead. We'd already won the 4-way, had a 3-point lead in the 9th round, and then we didn't have a great jump on the 10th round, and the Russians did, and they beat us by a point.
Yeah.
And so, but we didn't train 8-way the entire year.
we made one jump. I
One
think. Yeah.
one jump, and it was the
Oh,
practice jump
In 2001.
at
Yeah.
the World Meet. Like, we didn't train for a whole year, and so it's pretty, like, if we would have won that World Meet, I almost would have felt like I just won the World Meet and didn't train for a year. It was like,
So in 99 you won in 4-way, lost in 8-way, and then 2001 you won in
99
8-way,
won
lost in
8-way,
4-way.
lost 4-way.
Yeah.
And it was in 99 we were our performance in 4-way was pretty good at the beginning, but then it started going downhill, and the French team was just too strong. They caught us pretty early, like round 6 or 7, and then with 8-way as well, our performance was actually. The Russians' performance wasn't great at the beginning, but then they were starting to trend well, and we were coming down, and it was just a matter of would those two intersect before round 10, and I think we won by a point. I think so,
Yeah.
And it was pretty tough conditions in Australia for us. They were having things. It wasn't just. I don't think it was. I think they were just looking at the weather and what they had, but they were switching back and forth a lot. So they would say we're in 4-way, we would do it, and then we're switching to 8-way. We had a lot of moving around, and what we've talked about with these guys is that there's a shift there that you do where 8-way is more classical music in a way, and 4-way is rock and roll.
So you have to prepare for that somehow. I don't know if it's possible to prepare for the real thing actually, but I'm sure that Kirk and Craig and whoever else is in your environment. What do they tell you? I mean, how do they try? First of all, let's begin another way. How do you prepare yourself for that? Because you know what's waiting for you, right? Long days, switching back and forth. Who knows when? Nobody knows except the meet director. But he doesn't know because weather plays a role. Blah blah blah. How do you prepare yourself for that?
I think you kind of already said it, the long days, and that goes inside with what Craig was saying too. I mean, sometimes after we're done jumping 4-way or 8-way, now we're switching gears to go to the tunnel and do 4-way or 8-way with someone else, or coaching other teams, 2 teams at once, having the long days already there with your mind going in different directions and still trying to maintain that calm focus. I think that's all part of it. I mean, I assume that's all part of it already with the long days. I mean, we get up and go to the gym in the morning before you go jump, and then you go jump all day, and go home and you study your jumps that you did and what you want to do for the next day. It's just a non-stop thing.
But then the weather is not that great, so you say, okay, let's take the day off and go home, take a nap and rest. Nothing like this is going to happen, at a world meet.
I don't think that happens in our daily life. It's like we get weathered out. Okay, let's go see if the girls want to fly in the tunnel and do 4-way. Let's catch up on work. Let's go to the gym. Like, it's not, there's a weather day, let's take a nap. Right. I don't think that's been the case for many years.
But it's still under your own control. You basically decide, what to do with the rest of the day, whether you're going to do some coaching or whether you're going to go and do some computer work or whatever it is. Nobody is going to lay down and take a nap for the rest of the day.
I don't think any of these 3 guys have had a day off hardly ever. And man, they're hard workers, man. They're hard workers. But they're always in it. They're always in it. So, I mean, these guys are great competitors, man. They're like that shift over. Like, if people only did a couple of training camps a year and hope you had a good jump, I think they already know what they're going to do, with 4-way and 8-way. So, I mean, I don't ever have to say anything. Like, they don't need any advice. They're killers. They're killers.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg.
What was the most challenging thing for you if you think back, and what was it the logistics, the mental set going back and forth between one event to what was
I think that, and then we had close meets. It's another thing. We were close, and they were, and we were diluted by splitting that training year up in between us, and we knew that. And I think in 99 we kind of shifted ourselves to 8-way a little bit more. Like the 8-way project seemed like it needed a little bit more jumps, whatever we made. I think Craig and I both, that the year before we made like 2,000 jumps a year. in '98, getting ready for 8-way and everything, and then so we split it, and 4-way had a little bit less, and 8-way had a little bit more, but the whole it being close, because it takes it out of you. Those jumps are incredibly. Your arousal level and your adrenaline is so high in a world meet round, and then when you've got everybody trying to beat you, and it's so close, that even makes it more tiring. I remember being exhausted at the end of it, and I also remember in '99 kind of calling us all out, like, we don't need rest, we do this all the time, it's not going to be that taxing. And I could not have been more wrong, that I was exhausted when it was done.
In '99 though, it was the meet director did not do a great job. We would land from an 8-way, you'd be on a 4-way call. Land from that same 4-way on 8-way, 4-way, 8-way, 4-way, 8-way, 4-way. It's like 4 or 5 jumps that day, and it was like
going back and forth.
And like sometimes we'd be coming back there, no, they're changing it back to 4-way, and like we'd already prepped the jump.
Yeah.
And so I think being at Skydive Arizona, the World Meet, I think the weather's going to be amazing. Going to have a really good meet director. I think they're going to prioritize things so that you're going to get the best performance from the athletes.
They'll probably run it like a nationals.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
Except that you don't split the events or separate the events.
I mean, they could do it all in 3 days.
Yeah. You said that you expected something totally different. You were so wrong in hindsight of what came up there. We don't have that situation because what's coming up for them.
Yeah.
So what are you telling? You talk about that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, certainly
at home or as a team, or do you have special sessions for that? Where say today we're gonna.
I'll tell you this. I never have any concern, like, because a lot of times they'll have on their days off, they'll do the 4-way, and their teammates are local, and so. Like, I feel like I'm only on the 8-way team, but I feel like you guys are giving 100% every day. And when they're doing the 4-way, they're giving 100% for the 4-way.
Yeah, but there's different times. You train 1 week is 8-way, and then the next week is 4-way, not the same week. So giving it all is a lot easier under those circumstances.
I think the big thing for them, in my opinion, is that we keep them insulated from the noise of the scoreboard and what's going on out there, that they just get into this mode of each jump is its own meet, and I'm going to get personal best, and irregardless of what the scores are. And the problem with that is always that even if you're not looking at the scoreboard, people around you are saying, go get them, or go hang in there, or whatever it is, and like, oh, how bad is it?
But take it easy.
So so making sure that they just stay in the now, that they're focusing on this jump, and irregardless of what everybody else is doing, that they're going to go out there and they're going to execute, and it's just, I was talking about this with Lightspeed yesterday, that it's so difficult to emulate a meet. You just can't, even if you're competing against somebody, that helps, but what you have on adrenaline wise on round 1 of a world meet, you can't replicate it. It's just not possible. They're the biggest jumps of your life, so I think that's my big thing, is making sure that they stay on track, that they don't think about what the scores are, and what I'm saying with that is that it's really easy to you find yourself ahead, and that can be just as bad for your psyche as anything. That then sometimes teams get protective of that. I got a 2-point lead, now I'm going to protect that, and then all of a sudden that second place team just runs right by you. So keeping them insulated, and making sure their arousal level is correct, and that's not hard for those guys. They know how to perform, but just making sure they stay away from the noise on the outside, and we keep them going.
Is that the plan, that you have made a plan for that kind of by discussing it together, trying to find the best way how to do it? And I mean, you get input, feedback, obviously.
Yeah, we've had a lot of good coaches around us, and even Nick, who's been coaching us with 4-way, and we've had these talks already about how don't be surprised if you find yourself in the running with 4-way, because that wasn't our original intentions with the new lineup. And then when we're performing better than expected, now it's within reach. So we've kind of been coached on that part of it, the mental part, more so than the skydiving part, because we can lose it ourselves. And like Kirk said, if we just keep every round is another competition, and if that's my personal best and somebody beats it, that's all I can do is just throw what I have out there on the line, and I think we just see where it lays with that. But if we don't want to get caught up in the drama behind it, and then you start playing your own mind games, which is detrimental to your performance.
The next jump, whether it's 4-way, whether it's 8-way, no matter what, that's that one round by round.
Yeah,
no
and especially with our 8-way, I feel like we've had a core group of 8-way, and I never go into an 8-way jump or even a 4-way jump, worried about what my teammate's going to do. And I think that just worrying about my own job makes a big difference for us. And I'm not sure if every team in the past has had that. When you start worrying about someone else, then it's a whole another ball game. So at least, especially with 8-way, I'm like just so focused on my own performance and what my job is, and I have zero worries about
trust
the team. So,
but then you have a teammate who is going to do the first time in the AAA class.
Yes, and that's where we have to, that's where we wear the other hat, and now shift gears to try to make sure we take care of her, and knowing that experience for the first time, it's a lot more pressure. So that'll be the more challenging part of double duties, is staying tight with the 4-way team and making sure we stay together and just keep playing our game.
Sorry?
No, I was just thinking about at the World Meet last year with the French guys with the 8-way. Man, they were in a battle for 4-way and 8-way because the 4 girls were on the 8-way team, and those guys, man, they put up a really good fight. You got two. Here's the risk: is you're going to go get. You might have 2 silver medals, but have an amazing fight, But we don't know what the competition's going to be like. But we're preparing for full battle, and so it doesn't really matter, But I'm going to be excited to watch these guys because, if we're on 8-way, you can't help but be supportive and root for them.
I just realized that I feel bad now because I think I at least have not given the 2 silver medals of the French delegation last year enough credit. It's all about Mathieu is the one gold only matters, gold. But silver, under those circumstances is pretty cool too.
They were in a battle,
so
man.
I apologize. We'll catch up with that.
But Kirk brought it up. He said the biggest thing is if it's competitive and if it's a fight in both, it's and it could be. You never know. You can't be I'm just going to walk away with this world meet. It's then you're not ready, man. You got to be ready just to fight it out.
So there will be no surprise anymore. So because we have this experience from those young men here, from those world meets, and there's no surprise also as of round 1. And looking back at the world, you had a round 1 at a world championship for the gold medals, last year. How do you? Is it like this? What Kirk said earlier, the number 1, there is nothing like this. Did it feel like that?
I think so. Yeah, it was very nerve-wracking, and the other thing was having to travel overseas and everything. We're not at our home drop zone. Is definitely an experience, and there's no way you can replicate that.
Siberia.
Yeah, we're not going to have the same experience jumping here out of our home otter, on a Saturday morning as we are in Siberia jumping out of the Turbulette for round 1 of the world meet. So it was a lot of nerves, and I think one thing that Jeana said about having trust in the team is something that I think we have on both the 4-way and the 8-way team. And we're all, very close, really good team dynamics. And I think that plays a big part in, being successful and doing the best that we can. And not saying that, like Craig says, we're going into it thinking we're going to run away with it. But it's, we put a lot of hard work into both teams, and we're, going to do our best at the meet and hope we get the outcome that we want.
Give us just a tiny little bit more of that round 1 thing, and how let's say you're getting your call to the plane, so you got 20 minutes before. So how is the arousal level at that point in time? That's kind of on a digestible level, guys. I'm not shitting in my pants yet. And how does it increase? How does it go up to the exit, to the jump run, whatever it is?
I think, it's pretty high from the moment you wake up to the moment you get out of the plane.
Wake up in the morning.
Yeah, because,
if you've slept at all.
If you slept at all. But,
Okay.
I think one thing that we did with the 8-way team last year that really helped for the round one was we traveled down to Z Hills for the Shamrock meet, and having that experience, we were all shitting our pants, and you know, for whatever reason, like we were
In
all
Z Hills.
in Z
Yeah,
Hills.
Z Hills,
We were
yeah.
super nervous because it, you know, it was after COVID, and like we haven't done anything in a year and a
We
half.
also were cold. We didn't have
It
any
was
warm-up.
cold,
First,
it was
first jump to that
cloudy.
drop zone for some of us.
Yeah, it was windy. Like the
Interesting. Yes, I
conditions were
remember.
terrible, and we had to do like 4 or 5 go arounds. So, you know, having to do the go arounds just increased the level of nerves, and we did not have particularly good jumps.
No.
there,
Yeah,
we
I would
weren't
say.
ready.
We
We
weren't
weren't
ready,
very good.
but that experience I think really helped us
Mm-hmm.
get ready for the world meet, and we talked about that a lot throughout the year of like, you know, what went wrong, like what can we do to build each other up to, you know, have a good round one. And I think, you know, as we went to the world meet, even through that meet, you know, we're like, you know, whatever happens, like we had a killer round one at this world meet, and that's something that we can always take with us, and we did. Like everyone was on
Fantastic.
point. It was great. So we're super happy, and so using that experience of the meet kind of gone wrong was very valuable to having a good world meet experience.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. You know, that
And we have the same thing about to happen. You know, we're using the U.S. Nationals as this dry run, you know, and how we perform and all that stuff. So, you know.
So let's continue going a little bit back still. You know, now you had the Shamrock, so you say you were actually pretty well prepared, you know, for the round one, but then still, you know, the arousal level still goes up to in a totally different way than it was in the hills, probably, right? So how do you, I mean, in which order is that happening? So now you have your call, you know, you're already excited the night before if you can sleep at all, you know, you're coming there, it's all exciting, but then it still goes further up, right? In the process of going to the plane. And
I mean, round one's a round one.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it's
such a
there's
surreal.
no way to replicate that. It's like, and it doesn't matter if it's you know, the Shamrock Showdown. It's every round one. It's like, man, it's some kind of like, you know, even though you've done it so many times,
Yeah.
like you could have 20,000 world meet medals, but every round one, unless you just don't give a shit,
Yeah.
it's like because it's so important.
It is the most important jump,
Yeah.
you know, and like the ride to altitude is one of the most still, quiet things. Like normally in the ride to altitude, you're having a little bit of conversation, and then you have a cutoff altitude where you're way into your head. But you know, it is just complete stillness, and then you make eye contact with my peace partner Mikhail last year, and you know, you have this communication like we're about to go kill this right now, you know, and it's just, man, you could cut it with a knife, you know. And then we had it around there where the weather was looking sketchy, and when the Russians were getting out in front of us, and they got out and it was raining hard, we were in clouds, and then we did a go around, and we decided to land. And by the time we got down, that big cell had kind of pushed through, and they gave us a 20-minute call. We went back up there and did that jump. And that's almost worse, you know, because you're engaged. Okay, let's do this. It's raining. Oh, let's jump in the rain. But we made the right call. And
it was round one.
and that was, no,
No,
Later-
that was
later
the
on.
12
Okay.
jump.
yeah, the 12 jump, yeah,
Okay.
third or fourth
Maybe,
round,
yeah.
yeah. And so, you know, the same thing, that tires you out because you're ready, and then you come down, and then it's good, and then you have that whole, you know, system start up again, and it's like, it's one of the most intense experiences, you know, that you can have, you know.
One of the things I'm feeling that's different about this team, like we just did our 300th jump last week, and as Kirk said, that last week was like, it was the highest performance we'd done. We did 4 separate competitions, like 10 jumps in a day, every day for 4 days. And since I've been on this team, even though 300 jumps doesn't sound like a lot, but I feel like we've been a lot of time training, but there's not so much brain locking. Very few brain locks. And the busts they're mostly from just trying to push the pace, but like I have the most confidence in this team just because the training has been amazing. And it's charging, and just feeling how confident I am right now. I'm like, I don't know if I've ever been that confident about a team. I have, but like not like this in this short of a time.
I have the same feeling about this lineup, that it's just, that once that thing comes off that airplane, like even our exit, we're coming off the airplane and going right to the first point, everybody's moving together, and you just have this headspace of like, nothing's going to get away from us, The one thing that I think that, that Craig brought to us, I mean, our core was really good. We had just done 1,200 jumps, getting ready for the 2020 World Meet, which was a year later. And, and Craig, has an adaptability, right? So he can adapt really quickly. And when he adapts, in there, and it just makes it super easy. You know what I mean? Like our exits and everything, because he has so much time up there. Just his ability to adapt, and it's just been a super asset for this thing. And I said this to him the other day, I'm positive in this country he's the only person that is going to win, potentially win another World Meet next month in October, with 3 different entities: the Golden Knights, then Airspeed, and now XP.
He can make everybody on the planet feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Eliana said when he joined the team that he's just pure sunshine.
Oh, well, that's her.
No, it's true.
So we have two sunshine on the...
Yeah, that's great.
All right, well, I guess we should leave it by that with a nice finish, because, I mean, we could talk about this stuff for hours, but there is an end to the recording time.
Cool. Thank you, Kurt.
Well, thank you very much. Good luck, and we'll next time, I don't know when we'll talk. Maybe it will be in Eloy. No, at first the nationals.
Yeah.
The last final test.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
thanks,
thank
Kurt.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.